You'll never be whole until you face the enemy within. Carl Jung. You've probably been told your whole life to be a good person. To be kind, calm, polite, productive. To avoid anger, suppress jealousy, hide selfishness, and push all those negative feelings into the dark. But what if I told you that everything you've buried, your rage, your shame, your fear, your lust, your hunger for control, isn't evil? What if those very things you're denying are the keys to your wholeness? Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers of the last century, believed that until you face the enemy within, you will never be whole. In this video, we're going into the depths of the human psyche. We're not staying on the surface. We're diving into the shadow.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let's start with the contradiction Jung throws at us. The path to becoming a complete human being doesn't lie in perfection. It lies in confrontation. You must face your shadow, the unconscious part of you that contains everything you deny, repress, or disown. It's not just your flaws, it's your power. The shadow is the you that you don't want to admit exists. The you that's angry when someone gets more attention. The you that fantasizes about success while pretending to be humble. The you that is cruel in thought, even if kind in action. Most of us live in fear of this part of ourselves. But Jung says, you're not free until you face it, because what you don't own owns you. Imagine a person so busy trying to be good that they become fake. You've seen it. Maybe you've lived it. The overly nice friend who explodes one day. The calm coworker who suddenly sabotages a project. The spiritual guru caught in scandal. That's the shadow breaking through. You can't bury it forever. It leaks. It slips into your words, your tone, your behavior. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's not just poetic, that's terrifying, because it means the parts of you that you're ignoring are the very ones shaping your destiny. What if the thing holding you back isn't the world, but your own unacknowledged darkness? Here's the twist. The shadow isn't just about bad things. It also contains your unrealized potential. Maybe you were told as a child to be quiet, so you silenced your voice. Maybe you were told not to be selfish, so you never learned how to assert your needs. Maybe you were taught that anger is wrong, so you never learned how to set boundaries. All of that is in the shadow. All of it is waiting to be reclaimed, not to destroy you, but to complete you. Jung believed that the goal of life isn't to be good, it's to be whole. And wholeness means bringing all parts of yourself into consciousness. Not to act on every impulse, but to own them, to know them, to see them clearly, so they don't sabotage you in the dark. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you were honest about your shadow? Not just with others, but with yourself. When did you last feel envy and admit it, instead of pretending you were happy for someone? When did you feel rage and sit with it, instead of spiritualizing it away? When did you feel superiority or lust or pride, and just observed it without judgment? Jung challenges us to stop pretending. Because every time we split ourselves into good me and bad me, we increase the power of the enemy within. And here's the paradox that makes this all so hard. The more virtuous you try to be, the darker your shadow becomes. Because the brighter the light, the darker the shadow it casts. The mirror of monsters, how owning the darkness sets you free. When you confront the darkness within yourself, something extraordinary happens. You stop being afraid of it. You stop projecting it onto others. Most of us walk around with a distorted mirror in our minds. We see in others the very traits we refuse to admit in ourselves. That's projection, one of Jung's most powerful insights. If you hate arrogance in others, maybe it's because you're terrified of your own concealed pride. If you despise manipulation, maybe it's because a part of you knows how skilled you are at it, and that scares you. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. That's not just psychology, that's spiritual warfare. Because the minute you turn the mirror around and face your own inner monster, you reclaim your freedom. You realize This monster isn't trying to destroy you. It wants to be integrated. It wants to be seen. Let's be real. Most of us are afraid of becoming bad people. We're so afraid of being selfish, angry, jealous, or controlling that we repress those parts, and they come out sideways. Passive aggression, sabotage, secret addictions. The truth is, no one is purely good, and no one is purely evil. You are both. I am both. We are all both. And the more we try to deny that, the more we suffer. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating all aspects of the self. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. And that means you have to stop labeling your inner life as good or bad. You have to start understanding it. Because when you understand your darkness, you stop being controlled by it. You stop fearing other people's darkness too. And suddenly the world becomes less threatening, not because it changed, but because you did. Think about the people you admire most. Truly powerful people. Those who walk into a room and command presence, not through ego, but through authenticity. They've done the shadow work. They've faced their rage, their shame, their desires. And because of that, they're not hiding. They're not pretending. They're not controlled by fear. You can feel it in them. They're grounded, centered, free. That's the power of integration. You don't have to act out your darkness, but you also don't need to deny it. You hold it. You carry it. Like a warrior who knows the sword is there but doesn't need to unsheath it every time they feel threatened. Have you ever wondered what kind of strength you'd have if you stopped hiding from yourself? What kind of life you could live if nothing inside you scared you anymore? Jung believed that real transformation doesn't happen through denial, it happens through encounter. Facing the enemy within means sitting in the discomfort of your own contradictions. It means realizing that the person you hate most might just be the part of you you've buried deepest. It means seeing that the capacity for cruelty, for manipulation, for destruction, it's in you. And only when you face it, can you choose not to act on it. That's the difference. Integration gives you choice. Denial robs you of it. When you own your darkness, you become responsible for it. You can channel it, contain it, even use it as fuel for something greater. But if you ignore it, it will act without your permission. So I'll ask you this. What part of yourself have you locked away out of fear? What would happen if you stopped running and simply sat with it? Would it destroy you or free you? Becoming the dragon, why your shadow is the source of your true power. Carl Jung didn't just believe the shadow was something to be tamed. He believed it was the very source of your power. Not metaphorical power, real power. The kind that makes you unshakable in the face of chaos. The kind that stops you from being manipulated by guilt, or crushed by failure, or seduced by shallow validation. But to unlock that kind of power, you must stop thinking of the shadow as your enemy. It's not. It's your potential in disguise. Everything you fear in yourself, your intensity, your ambition, your hunger, your rage, those aren't curses. They're energy, raw, untamed energy. And if you repress them, they don't disappear. They rot. They fester. But if you face them, if you integrate them, you become someone the world cannot ignore. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. Jung often used the symbol of the dragon, not as something to be slain, but as something to be become. Imagine that. The parts of you you've been trained to fear, your unpredictability, your selfishness, your sexuality, your capacity to wound, those are the scales of the dragon. And if you can wear them with awareness, with responsibility, you become something rare. A person who knows their darkness and still chooses light. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Think of the people in history who transformed the world, not by being polite, but by being powerful. Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Jung himself, they didn't hide their shadow. They wrestled with it. They made peace with it. And then they used it. They channeled their inner fire into vision, into depth, into unshakable presence. What if your buried rage is actually your call to lead? What if your jealousy is pointing to the unlived life inside you? We often think of evil as something out there, in corrupt systems, violent people, distant villains. But Jung reminds us that evil begins in the places we refuse to look. The person who has never faced their shadow is the most dangerous of all, because they act unconsciously. They become righteous, fanatical, compulsive. They think they're the good one, and so they justify anything. That's where real cruelty is born, not from evil people, but from people who can't see the evil within themselves. The only true antidote to that kind of destruction is self-awareness. And self-awareness begins when you look in the mirror and say, I am capable of everything, good and bad, light and dark. And because I know that, I choose consciously, every day, every moment. That's the foundation of moral strength, not denial, but integration. So here's the final truth Jung leaves us with. You will never be whole until you face the enemy within. Not because you need to eliminate it, but because it is you. The parts you've disowned, the ones you've called ugly, unacceptable, unspiritual, they are the roots of your authenticity. They are the parts that, when seen and integrated, give your love depth, your empathy weight, your courage heat. You don't become whole by being perfect. You become whole by being honest, by going into the cave, by meeting the dragon, and by realizing the treasure you seek is guarded by the very thing you're afraid to face. So I'll leave you with this one final question. What's hiding in your cave? And are you ready to meet it, not to kill it, but to become it? Thank you for watching. If this video sparked something deep inside you, don't look away. Sit with it. Journal about it. Talk to someone. Or just be still and listen to what your shadow is trying to tell you. Because that voice you've been ignoring, it might be the key to everything you've ever wanted to become.